Super Smash Bros. What a series. A crossover fighter featuring some of gaming's most iconic and influential characters. Of course, not every character is equally iconic, or arguably deserving of their place on the roster, as many a Smash fan has lamented regarding the 8 Fire Emblem characters. But are they truly the most egregious example of an overrepresented series in Smash? Today, my friends, that is exactly what we're aiming to find out. Let us determine the objectively most overrepresented series in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So how exactly are we going to determine this? I promised an objective answer, not just my opinion, and I plan to deliver on that promise. Well, after much deliberation, I have come to a simple formula that will tell us exactly how much commercial and cultural relevance a series has in relation to its representation in Smash. That formula is as follows. A series' number of units sold divided by the amount of characters it provides to the Smash Ultimate roster. This gives us a series' units sold per character, or USPC for short. The smaller this number, the more overrepresented a series is. And of course the inverse is true. The bigger it is, the more underrepresented a series is. With that established, we have just a couple more things to clarify before we can start ranking the series. Firstly, what counts as a character? Do Echo Fighters count? Is Pokemon Trainer 1 or 3 characters? What about alternate skins that literally are different characters, like Bowser Jr.'s? My standard for a character is simply, does the character have their own slot on the character select screen? So to answer the previously raised questions, yes, 1, and no. As for the sales data, I've gotten most of it from VG charts. I know it's not 100% accurate, but it was at least the source which could give me data on the vast majority of the series we're covering today. That's easier said than done, so this is what we're going with. And with that established, let's get started with the most underrepresented series and go backwards from there. But first, I'm curious what predictions you all have as to the most underrepresented and overrepresented series in the game. So if you've got a prediction, why not leave a comment? Alright, let's get to the meat of this. With 200 million units sold, and only a single character to represent it, Minecraft is by far the most underrepresented series with USPC of 200 million. Of course, given that Minecraft is a property owned by one of Nintendo's chief rivals in the video game console space, any Minecraft representation was certainly a welcome surprise, but that's where we stand. Speaking of Nintendo's rivals, next up is Sonic the Hedgehog with a USPC of 102 million. Looking at that number, maybe it is about time to include Tails. Next up is a series I personally knew almost nothing about before they started aggressively pushing the 11th game on Switch. Honestly, I still don't know much about Dragon Quest, but I do know it's big in Japan. Big enough to have a USPC of 83 million. Coincidentally, we've got another huge JRPG series up next. Final Fantasy, after the relatively recent inclusion of Sephiroth, comes in with a USPC of 80 million. Granted, it's all Final Fantasy VII representation for some reason. Well, what do we have here? Super Mario, that's what. Sorry to break it to you if you thought Smash already had too many Mario characters in it, but as it turns out, even with 9 characters, Mario actually has the highest USPC of any Nintendo franchise at 77 million. Now that's a number if you count all Mario sub-series aside from the ones Smash itself labels as separate series. If you only count the Super Mario platformers, then the USPC falls to a more reasonable 44 million. That being said, I think it's best to count the sub-series in with it, so that's the number we're using today. Snake is a character I don't think anyone thought was going to be in Smash before he was. And even then, it was still surprising to see him in Smash. Even so, the numbers don't lie. and the numbers say the Metal Gear series is severely underrepresented, with a USPC of 57 million. If it surprises you that in spite of its 8 characters, Pokemon is this early in the list, then please get out from under the rock you're living under. Pokemon is huge, and more than justifies its 8 characters with a USPC of 46 million. Pac-Man is iconic. That being said, he's not quite as much of a sales juggernaut as some of the previous series, leading to a still very much respectable USPC of 45 million. Right on the gluttonous heels of Pac-Man is Wii Fit, with a USPC of 44 million. Man, with sales like that, why haven't we fixed obesity yet? Oh well. Game & Watch was weird to figure out, to say the least, since we can't really use software sales like we've been doing with everything else. So instead, we're going with how many physical Game & Watches were sold, leading to the Flat Man himself securing a USPC of 43 million. The golden age of Mega Man was a bit before my time. As such, I had no idea how big the series actually was. So congratulations, Mega Man. You have officially surprised me and gotten yourself a very respectable USPC of 36 million. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Animal Crossing improved its standing in this list significantly over the last year. Even with 2 characters representing it, the USPC is still a healthy 30 million. And a lot of that is just from the most recent game. One character, one game, and still an impressive USPC of 28 million. Seriously, with numbers like that, why isn't Duck Hunt a major Nintendo series these days? I mean, can you imagine if they rebooted it on, like, the Wii, as a response to Call of Duty's huge success in the era? So, in short, I need to see this dog dropping a nuke. In my mind, the Yoshi series is generally one of the more forgettable ones in Nintendo's arsenal. I can't deny that it sells, though. Well enough to earn a USPC of 27 million, apparently. This one I actually thought would be a lot more underrepresented. Sure, Street Fighter has 2 characters to worry about, but it's also like the fighting game? Still though, a USPC of 23 million isn't bad. Wario has a USPC of 22 million. I know what you're thinking. Wait, Smash has representation in Smash? Technically, yes. While I would have personally considered Mii's to be part of the Wii series, the game decides to claim them for itself. Yes, them. Each of the 3 different types of Mii's occupies a different character slot, and therefore we're treating them as 3 different characters. All this leads to a USPC of 21.5 million. It's truly amazing how much success you can achieve with a glorified King Kong ripoff. That being said, huge missed opportunity to not include DK and Yoshi in the Bowser's Fury Kaiju battles. Oh well, next time. Oh right, the USPC here is 21 million. You know what? Zelda is completely ripped off with Smash representation. I had to do this calculation with 6 characters, despite the fact that 3 of them are just the same guy, and another pair is just a princess playing dress-up in 2 different outfits. That being said, since the number we're working with here is officially 6, the USPC comes out to 20 million. The new kid on the block has done pretty well for themselves. leading to a USPC of 17 million. And with Splatoon 3 on the horizon, I am sure this number will only grow. Until they slash it in half by adding Octolings as an Echo Fighter in Smash 6, that is. What more could you ask for from Kirby representation? You've had the essential trio together right here since 2008. Wow, it has really been that long since they added a new Kirby character? Anyway, the USPC here comes out to 13.5 million. Persona 5 is still not available on the Switch. I'm just as baffled as the rest of you. I figured this would be a perfect, crossover marketing opportunity, but no, I think we're just getting, the Warriors spin-off. That being said, the Persona series has garnered itself a USPC of 13 million. Castlevania, of all series, was the first third-party series to get multiple characters. Not quite sure why it was this one in particular, but okay. It is how it is, which leads to a USPC of 11 million. Ushering in the sub 10 million USPCs is Banjo-Kazooie with a USPC of 6.3 million. And then we find F-Zero with one character and a USPC of 5.8 million. I don't think I'll ever know how to play Captain Olimar properly, but I do know that Pikmin's USPC stands at 4.5 million. Next up is Metroid, which, like Zelda, is represented by 3 Samuses and a Ridley. He's pretty cool. Anyway, with 4 characters in the game, Metroid's USPC is only 4.4 million. Coming in just a bit short of Metroid is Punch-Out!, which has a bit less than a quarter of the sales, but exactly a quarter of the characters, leading to a USPC of 4.1 million. Star Fox has 3 nearly identical characters. Nevertheless, there's still 3 characters, which contribute to a USPC of 3.4 million. The latest addition to the Smash roster comes from Xenoblade, and has pushed the series up from a 1-rep series to a 2-rep series. This dilutes the USPC a bit to 3 million, but Pyra and Mithra are pretty cool, so I guess it might be worth it. The Bayonetta series has a USPC of 2.4 million, and considering the fact that thus far the series has consisted of a cult classic and a Wii U exclusive, I am not at all surprised that this number isn't higher. ARMS tried to be the Switch's Splatoon, but ironically enough got overshadowed by the Switch's Splatoon. As such, ARMS' USPC is significantly lower at just under 2.4 million. Surprised this one isn't the absolute most overrepresented series? Well, I was too. As it turns out, even though most Fire Emblem games haven't sold terribly well historically, the sheer quantity of them has helped somewhat justify their massive roster. That being said, a USPC of 2 million is hardly impressive. Ice Climber comes in at a USPC of 1.5 million, although that's honestly not too bad for a series of 1 game. I'll be perfectly honest, I had no idea what to do with regards to figuring out Rob's sales numbers. I initially tried to find data for the robot itself, but couldn't find anything, so instead I used sales figures for the games Rob was compatible with, but of the two, and yes, apparently there's only two, I could only find data for one of them, which means this data I'm about to present to you may very well be only like half complete. After all that, the likely quite flawed USPC I came up with was 1.4 million. Speaking of things difficult to find sales numbers on, Fatal Fury was near impossible. I ended up combing through about 50 different games and ports listed on VG charts only to find that most of them didn't have any sales data at all. The USPC I eventually ended up with was 1.2 million, but I'll be the first to tell you that I barely have any confidence in the accuracy of that number. So please do not use me as a source for Fatal Fury sales data, because honestly I barely have any idea. Even now. I will never be unconvinced that the only reason Kid Icarus has 3 characters is because Sakurai just so happened to make Uprising. As such, Kid Icarus ends up with a USPC of 1 million. We have arrived at the most overrepresented series in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it is none other than Earthbound. / Mother, I guess. I hear it's supposed to be a pretty good series, but it just doesn't seem to sell. Add on top of that the fact that this already low-selling series has 2 representatives in Smash, and you've got a recipe for the only sub 1 million USPC being a 900,000 USPC. So, what is the takeaway? Well, we mathematically proved that psychic kids are more overrepresented in Smash than anime swordsmen. We also found out that, unsurprisingly, Nintendo has a much higher hurdle to clear for third-party inclusions than their in-house series. And I guess you all now have more ammunition to argue on behalf of your preferred inclusions. You can be all like, see, Sonic completely deserves another fighter. It's the second most underrepresented series in the whole game! Oh, and if anyone is curious about the overall average USPC of all the series in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I found that the mean is 28.5 million and the median is 18.5 million. But anyways guys, that'll do it for this video. If you want to see more gaming questions answered, check out the rest of my channel. And until next time, I've been CMeeCraft and I will catch you in the next video. Goodbye.